Well, it is Ravens week here in Berea. The Browns preparing to face their division rival, the first of two division games in a row. They play a Monday nighter against Cincinnati on Halloween. But first up, of course, the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. And Mary Kay, as far as starting weeks go, these aren't the things you love to hear. John Johnson today mentioned that maybe some guys on the defensive side of the ball need to kind of embrace taking their work home and doing a little extra on the side to kind of get this defense where it needs to be.
Yeah, and you know what? JJ3 is a veteran. He's been around for a long time. He's part of the Browns Leadership Council. So when he says something like this, he knows exactly what he's saying. He knows the impact that it will have. And he basically called on his teammates to step it up, to do more when they leave this facility, and to be 100% committed. So basically, he kind of questioned the commitment of his teammates, and that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and actually, I guess, look, it could be good. Maybe it changes things, or it could be just a bad sign that things simply aren't going the way this team needs them to go.
Yeah, and for me, I kind of loop it into, was it after week 2 where they had the players-only meeting? We've had a few of these instances already, and obviously their record is what it is. So on one hand, I'm kind of not that surprised, but I think you can't argue when you need players-only meetings that early and guys, putting out these calls to actions via media availability this early in the season. I just think overall it doesn't bode well for where your team currently stands. I think these guys have a long way to go, and now it's a matter of if they can stand up and kind of do things instead of just talking about making improvements.
Now, there weren't a lot of guys in the locker room today, but one of the guys in the locker room was Wyatt Teller. He was in a walking boot. He carried it in, and then he put it on before he left, dealing with that calf injury. And he kind of told some reporters that were standing around chatting with him, he kind of winked a little bit and said, probably not going to go this week. Kevin Stefanski didn't go that far. He said Teller is probably doubtful as of right now. But Mary Kay, if Wyatt Teller can't go, that obviously is bad for this run game.
Yeah, it really is bad. They have the top-ranked rushing attack right now, and Wyatt Teller is a huge part of that. But the thing about this injury that he has, a couple of things that I found out. First of all, it's not the Achilles, it is a calf strain, so that's a good sign. But it's very similar to what he went through in 2020. He missed 3 full games, and then also the bye week was part of that. So he had 4 weeks to heal. He feels a little better this time, but I'm guessing he will at least miss these 2 games, 2 big AFC North games, and perhaps come back after the bye.
Ashley, Bill Callahan's a magician, but we've also talked over and over again about how the investment this team has made in the run game doesn't just include those running backs. It also involves making those 2 of the highest paid guards in football.
Right. Wyatt Teller and Joel Bitonio are maybe the 2 best run blocking guards that any one team has, right? Wyatt Teller is one of the best pulling guards. They both are. It's a huge loss, I think. And Yelda Froholt stepped in for him when he had to exit the game last week against the Patriots. But it definitely hurts you. And I think it's important to remember the Ravens, especially in that first game against the Browns last year, really effectively limited their ground attack. Now, the Browns didn't have a full-strength Kareem Hunt, but they held Nick Chubb to 8 carries and 16 yards. So losing Wyatt Teller would be a big, big loss, I think, for this game in particular.
And on the defensive side of the ball, we are in injury watch for a few players. Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. Now, Myles will play this week. Jadeveon will still figure it out. Denzel Ward remains in the concussion protocol. We did see him in the locker room today, so that's at least a good sign that maybe he's working his way back, but we all know that concussion protocol can be tough, Mary Kay. When you look at that defensive side of the ball, how healthy do you expect them to be?
Well, the fact that none of those guys practiced today, I think, that really doesn't bode well for all of them getting back on the field. We know Myles, as you mentioned, will play. Not sure about Jadeveon, not sure about Denzel. And you're talking about Pro Bowl players here, right? But on a brighter note for them, I do think that Deion Jones, another former Pro Bowl player, will actually play this weekend. So help is on the way.
Speaking of Deion Jones, Ashley, I thought it was interesting when Kevin was asked today if he was thinking of personnel changes. He basically said he wasn't, other than typical strategy, game day decisions and just getting Deion Jones up to speed.
Yeah, I think Deion Jones in general, he could do a lot in the sense that he's a veteran, but obviously he is newer here. Jacob Phillips has more familiarity with the system. But of course, as Jacob Phillips has kind of gotten off to a semi-slow start this year, I think it's fair to say, that's, I think, the biggest question is how are you going to get him up to speed and maybe have him contribute if Jacob Phillips isn't exactly living up to the role they had envisioned for him.
All right, already a lot going on here in Berea as the Browns prepare to hit the road and play Baltimore on Sunday. We'll cover everything today and everything leading up to the game at cleveland.com/Browns.